Hello and welcome to Chess with Simon. I'm Simon. Right, let's have a look at these correspondence games with my friends at Cumnor then. We just kicked off one against Alex, M31C. Okay, Alex, well, apparently as white I'm playing c4 the whole time. I had this sort of dream of playing f4, but that dream passed. The logic is, it doesn't matter. f4's not a bad move. Okay, what's this? So this is Smith Morra against Ian Bush. And let's just do a little bit of analysis. So here's the point. So the two moves that are made here are f6, like loads, and e6 occasionally. The move we can't make is bishop g4, and the reason I think we can't do that, do people know the reason? Can you see a problem with bishop g4? Whenever you play bishop g4 and there's a bishop on this diagonal, you've got to check it can't take f7 with advantage. So check, let's assume we take it, check, wherever the king goes this bishop drops and white has a winning position. So bishop g4 is not allowed in this position. I mean, knight f6 is so natural, and clearly e6 stops bishop g4, but I'm going to play knight f6, and I'm slightly giving away my intention. I'm sure Ian's not watching this. I'm slightly giving away my intention to play bishop g4 afterwards, because once you play knight f6, let's say the main move is bishop f4 by the look of it, you play bishop g4. Now it doesn't work. Bishop f7 doesn't work because the bishop's defending on g4, and there's no knight e5. If knight e5 were possible, like check, king takes, knight check, then it's a double attack on the bishop on g4 with the knight and the queen, but the pawn's stopping it, and you know, so this sequence is valid. In fact, this is, I mean, it's probably the main line, isn't it? Is it the main line? Well, it's the main line. So maybe we'll play the main line. I think, I know that Ian and I have played these sort of positions before. So today, are we going to see a pre-move here? Let's see what, are we going to see bishop f4 as a pre-move? It's almost like a guessing game. Yes! Okay, I'm not playing bishop g4 now, and the reason I'm not is just because I'm trying to be disciplined. I just need to think about it, right? I mean, I probably will, but, you know, that's the joy of chess, right? The joy is thinking. I'm not going to think about this one. This is Keith. I'm not going to think too hard about this one. I'm just going to play pawn to e4 because objectively you've got to believe it's the best move. Now after that it gets more difficult. After bishop g7 you start to say, well, f3, knight f3. I mean, for a long time I've got a real soft spot for f4, and you know, when you first look at it you think it's a refutation to the King's Indian, but actually I think black does quite well in the f4 lines. I think it's probably a draw with best play. I mean, chess is a draw with best play, but I think it's not hard for black to demonstrate the draw against the 4 pawn, although it's a very sharp line. I mean, when I say it's not hard, yeah, I don't think white gets an advantage in, you know, I quite like playing the black side against the 4 pawn. Okay, so probably not f4. Pawn e4. Here, I'm really tempted here to play like g3 and bishop g2. Is that a thing? Because then basically we're just, look, it's the main line. But actually the stats aren't very good. g3, you just get this, don't you? g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, knight f3. Okay, but I wouldn't play d6 there. I would play, what happens? Knight f6, and then you play b3. No, you don't. Castle, castle, or d4. But I'm always thinking about double fianchetto, but maybe that's not right. d4 by the look of it. d4 and white's doing quite well. Okay, well, it seems to me better would be just to play knight f3, and then we'll just, I mean, I suppose the risk is here that you get e5 back from black. Oh, we'll play around. I mean, what do we think objectively is the best move? Objectively. I think, I don't know about this, but didn't Abu Satorov play e4 isn't that how he won the World Rapid? Well, I don't know, it's not very, the stats are awful. I might be wrong about that, don't quote me on that, but that was my sort of vague memory. Because e4's not a bad move, right? I mean, but don't quote me on that, that's just a memory. Okay, I'm going to play knight f3. I think knight f3 certainly must objectively be a pretty good move, and we're not going to get too hung up on it. Now this, I've been spending the whole day wondering if we can claim this as an inaccuracy. Is this an inaccuracy by Nick? I mean, it's just to be clear, it's not wrong. Let's see how popular it is. Okay, it's the second most popular move, but by some margin. I mean, g2. Bishop g2 is so natural because we know the bishop's going there, almost certainly. b3. So the point is, I think a way that black could mess this up is bishop b2. Yeah, if you play d6, can't white play e4? That's what I was thinking. Why can't white play e4? Because the knight's pinned, isn't it? I don't understand why white's not playing e4 there. Maybe white doesn't want to get e4 in, so maybe that's because it's blocking the bishop. So maybe although you can play it, you don't want to play it. Maybe that's right. So maybe that wasn't such interesting. But I was worried about that knight being pinned against the bishop. It looks like it's not that big a deal. So in which case, okay, so there's a kind of trolley move, which is b6. It's kind of trolling slightly. And guess what? The stats aren't very good. So let's not do a thing which hasn't got very good stats. Because there's no point in that. We're going to play bishop g7. I mean, what's not to like? But I assume Nick will play something very sensible like bishop b2, and I assume we'll castle, and then the game goes on, right? But no one's messed anything up. Oh, it's pre-moved. Okay, well, that's going to have to wait. That's my general policy, is to savour these things, to enjoy. Liam, knight f3. I mean, it's very natural. Okay, so what does the explorer say? g6. This is... Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to play g6 in a spirit of sportsmanship, and because I said we're going to be purist and mathematical, then I said with the Sicilian, the whole concept is either you swap the c pawn for the d pawn, which is quite good for black positionally, or we get control of the d4 square. So let's fight for control of the d4 square. Let's fight for what we believe in, even though I know that white might have a crushing attack on the king side. At least it'll be interesting, right? I can't believe I'm doing this. I did it. This one... Okay. So this one, my friend, we are going to play d4 for reasons we discussed. It's the natural move. The whole point is to get into a King's Indian. I think this is now our second King's Indian on the white side, which is kind of fun. Those of you who used to watch when I was on video, Chewy the dog has just come in, and also Peaches the cat is next to me. Gareth is playing the main line of the Grunfeld. So we take on c3 here, and when this was first played, it was absolutely revolutionary because A, you're moving the b pawn closer to the centre and reinforcing the centre, and B, you've allowed white to get e4 in, but black has so much pressure from a distance against the white centre. It's absolutely beautiful, and the engines like it a lot, and the elite players like it a lot. You know, Fischer, going back to Bobby Fischer, but these days people like Peter Svidler, lots of people. And yeah, it's a sound opening and it's a very unbalanced position, but, you know, it's mathematically correct. So, I mean, I think you can play knight b6, actually, but it's really not in the spirit. In fact, unless it happens... Well, it's actually, look, it's more imbalanced. It's less drawish. Isn't that funny? Probably because there's so much theory in the knight c3 line. But you know, knight c3 is the main line by a mile, and it is sort of beautiful. So we're playing it. Knight c3. This, okay, what do we play here? Do we play knight c3? Is that how we're doing it? I think this is Gary. So that's interesting, isn't it? That playing the symmetrical English. I didn't expect that from Gary, but let's find out what happens. I just expected some kind of King's Indian. I don't know why. I guess he's a tactical player. But, you know, if I'm playing the symmetrical English, I shouldn't judge other people for playing it. It's a good opening. Okay, so the thing is, isn't it bishop d6 here, isn't it? Bishop d6. You can play f6. Actually, white's more likely to win in the bishop d6 line. But, I mean, I just would rather develop the bishop than take the key square away from my knight by playing f6. I suppose the argument for f6 is that makes that bishop look misplaced on the diagonal, so that's what's kind of cool about it. I mean, it's kind of ambitious, look, but they play d4, that's the... Yeah, and then after takes, it's not so nice. I mean, you know, it's not very funny. The knight's pinned. I don't like that. I don't like that look. I think bishop d6 is... oh, they play f4 then. Okay, well, that's going to be fun, isn't it? Queen h4 check. Okay, well, let's take it one step at a time, and then you defend. That looks all right, doesn't it? Be an interesting game. Let's develop our pieces, and we accept that f4 might happen. It's happened. I love all this pre-moving. Like, it's really cool. Like, it gives me lots of chance to think about it. It's great. And okay, this. Well, we've talked about this. We're gonna defend the pawn. This is my own kind of principled creation, which is, for those that weren't watching, c4, c5, and then after b3, I said, well, we're going to play e5, because after b3, on move 1, we play e5, and the insertion of c4, c5 is actually slightly better for black, because then the knight on c6 is behind the pawn, not in front of the pawn, so actually, positionally, I prefer this. I don't think black's better here. I don't think I'm playing aggressively. I'm just trying to play in a principled way. But just to check, knight c6 is played more frequently, and it's the one that gets the results. So this is a very rare line, but we're playing it. No idea what white will play. That's white's problem, right? This is Ian. I mean, everyone plays so quickly, don't they? Okay, so basically, everything's been looked at. I'm thinking of putting my chess.com correspondence games in these videos too. We'll see about that. I hope everyone's well, and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.